President Trump to take Greenland by force. Think again. With American President Trump threatening to use the American military to take Greenland either the hard way or the easy way, has sparked international condemnation and has prompted both Greenland and the Denmark to not only counter President Trump's threats by their own military action but to dissolve NATO as an alliance. Recently, President Trump has pulled the United States out of an estimated 66 long-standing international partnerships. Some of the key international institutions President Trump pulled America out of consist of the Climate Change Treaty, the UN Women's Organization, the UN Population Fund, the UN Human Rights Council, the UN Cultural Agency, the World Health Organization (WHO), as well as slashing funding for a significant number of other UN-related organizations. As early as yesterday, President Trump ordered American military generals to construct plans to forcibly annex Greenland should the Danish government refuse to sell Greenland to America. American Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that it's preferred that Denmark sell Greenland to the United States to avoid the US from having to use force. Nearly all the leaders of European countries have stated that they are prepared to defend Greenland militarily if America displays any aggression or hostile actions towards Greenland. It should be noted that Article 5 does apply to Greenland since it is a NATO ally, but if the Americans should decide to forcibly annex Greenland, it would in essence start the process of NATO cannibalizing itself should the European countries in NATO vote to unilaterally defend Greenland against the Americans. On whether or not America will take Greenland by force, President Trump stated the following to the American press. "We are going to do something in Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor." In response, top political leaders in Greenland stated in a joint response, "We do not want to be Americans, we do not want to be Danes, we want to be Greenlanders. The future of Greenland must be decided by the Greenlandic people." The question that's being asked by the international community is the possible forced annexation of Greenland yet another short-sighted pitfall that the American government will fail to avoid? Given the recent actions of President Trump regarding the kidnapping of President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela, it appears that the answer to that question is yes. Our position at VEDA World News. Granted, President Trump does have Greenland in its crosshairs, but can he position America to fight all NATO simultaneously? Using history as our guide, the answer to that question is a hard no, as there are no countries that can successfully fight any war on multiple fronts at that same time, especially in the age of nuclear weapons. And speaking of nuclear weapons, it would be more than fair to ask if America would use nuclear weapons on NATO allies if it felt that it was being overwhelmed on the battlefield. Our position on the question is yes. How likely NATO will go to war with itself is still up for debate, given the fact that Greenland is a self-governing country, and it has been recognized by the international community for just over a decade. It should be noted that contrary to popular opinion, Greenland is closer to Canada than it is to any European country. In knowing that, the question of whether Canada would come to the defense of Greenland is something to consider. If Canada did, then that would suggest that a hot war with Canada could be a possibility, given the fact that Canada is a part of NATO and therefore would be a strategic asset to the NATO alliance to counter any American aggression towards Greenland. Our prediction is that if President Trump deploys the American military to forcibly take Greenland, not only would it be game over for NATO, but it would be game over for the United States on the international stage. There is no country in the world that can take on the entire world by itself, and the United States is no exception to the rule. If the United States thinks it can militarily take on the entire world, it is doomed to become a third world country.